in Calvert City, Benton, and Hardin. Our guest for this particular broadcast is John Ed Barnes. And John Ed, welcome to the microphone, and would you mind telling us when you were born?
October the 1st, 1926.
All right, and you are a merchant in the county at a place called Harvey, is that right?
That's right.
And Barnes' store, and I did interview one lady here, Mrs. J.R. Hoover, and I believe she told me that her dad was an Ivy and that his name might have been Harvey Ivy. Anyway, I think the town was named after him in some fashion.
I knew him, but I've forgotten his name.
I think she said his name was Harvey, and so they called the little village. Now, in those days, it seemed as if that were way out in the country, didn't it, sir?
That's right.
And today, you think you're practically in Benton.
About 10 minutes.
Yeah. All right, now for the benefit of genealogists, and we have a lot of them, there seem to be more and more all the time, let's try to get you set in your proper perspective in history. Your father's name was?
George Riley Barnes.
George Riley Barnes, and your mother, including her
Rose.
maiden name?
Rose Darnell.
Rose Darnell. All right, do you remember the grandparents on either side or both?
Let's see, my grandparents on my father's name was Tommy Barnes,
Tommy Barnes, all right.
and I've forgotten.
Well, that's no particular matter there. The name Barnes, now that sounds as if it's a British name. Is it English, Irish, Welsh, or
Irish.
Scotch, maybe? An Irish family, okay?
Irish was one.
We had, most of us are pretty well mixed up, I guess, when you think about the several generations involved. Now, the Barneses have been somewhat noted in the county history. I believe there was a city judge in Benton by the name of
Pomp Barnes.
Is, in fact, I just interviewed a man over in Murray today whose name was Kelly, who married Judge Barnes' daughter. And they ran a hatchery at one time, and then later they ran a termite exterminating place and so on. Had a very interesting conversation with them, and they told me a little bit about certain of the Barnes families. And Joe Scott Barnes was your cousin?
That's right.
Okay. All right, you went to, did you go to school in Marshall County?
Church Grove through the 3rd grade, and then I went to Benton to the 8th.
All right, you went to Church Grove, and that was, like so many of the Marshall County schools, a place where there was a one-room school and there was a church.
You walked to school, no buses.
Yeah. How far away did you live?
Oh, about 3 miles, I guess, something like that.
We had the school superintendent on one of these tapes, and he said that the goal of Marshall County, as expressed by some of the written policies that he's found, of course he wasn't even born when they started them, but Reed Conder says that the goal was to have every child within walking distance of a one-room school, and that was interpreted then as being 3 miles. And today the kids would think 3 miles is quite a walk.
Oh, they think that's awful.
The bus has to stop at the driveway.
That's right.
Or the parents get angry about it.
That's right.
Well, things have changed enormously in that sense. I well remember that in my lifetime there were no buses. When I finished Hardin High School in a class of 40, there was still not a bus. But when they consolidated Aurora, they put on a bus. As I remember, a fellow named Oakley drove it from over around Aurora into Hardin. That was the first bus I'd ever seen. And we never had one during my particular career. Well, do you remember your first teacher, any of them at Church Grove?
Madeline Riley was one of my teachers.
Mattie Lou Riley. Now, has she been postmistress
She
here?
was postmaster,
Uh-huh.
and she's a first cousin of mine.
Oh, well.
But she whipped me just like the rest of them.
You didn't get any favors?
No.
She might have been a little tougher on you
She could have been.
sometime.
William May Rudd was one of the teachers.
Uh-huh.
And
Now, I take it from what you said that you did get a whipping. Now, everybody I've been interviewing, I've been saying, well, I got a whipping every day. I wasn't all that bad, but I'd laugh out loud. And the teacher said she hated to whip me, but she had to try to keep order some way. The boys would make faces at me, and I grew up as my sister died before I was born, so I was raised as the only child. And everything was terribly funny to me. So now, everybody I've interviewed, I don't think a single one of them has said but what they were the ideal pupil. The teacher never scolded them. They never got a whipping in their life. Now, you mean to tell me that you're going to admit being a rascal like I was?
That's right. They'd make us stand and put your nose in a ring
Yeah.
and tiptoe.
I can remember that quite well up at the blackboard.
We would erase that ring and lower it a little if they weren't looking.
Yeah. Yeah, that tiptoeing got to be hard work, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
or
if you-
hold books out in your hand so you give out.
Yes, sir. I well remember those days. They were lots of fun, and I remember them with pleasure now, but at the time, I guess I thought it was awful.
Oh, yeah, we all did.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad to meet up with somebody that was at least had a little trace of rambunctiousness in them, or maybe just honest enough to tell that you did get a paddling now and then. Sometimes they'd make us memorize poetry, I remember, and a few times, instead of getting a paddling across the rear end, the teacher would take a ruler and kind of whip you in the
Yeah,
palm of the
Madeline,
hand.
she did that. She'd whip you in the hand with a ruler. And
That'd
boy,
sting.
it hurt.
Yeah, that's right. All right. What was your favorite subject when you were in school?
Oh, math and spelling.
Math and spelling. Well, I never liked math all that much.
Arithmetic back then.
Uh-huh. Well, that's one branch of mathematics, of course. That's in grade school. I guess that's the only one we studied. Now, I went to high school. They put algebra on us, and we even had geometry. Oh, I remember memorizing those crazy theorems. They were handy, I suppose. I found out I used some of them in World War II in navigation as a Navy officer, but at the time I didn't think there was one earthly use for them. And I remember a boy in my class at Hardin, Mr. Holland, was trying to tell us how valuable algebra was. And this boy said, well, I guess at our farm, I suppose I'd let X equal tobacco worm and Y equals sucker. And, of course, we all thought that was hilariously funny. I guess we wanted to be stupid. I don't know what, but... But I never cared all that much for math. But I can remember, what was that Pythagorean theorem? The square on the side of on the hypotenuse of a right triangle is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides.
I never liked history.
I was crazy about history. Liked history and liked poetry. And I liked spelling, but you said you liked spelling too. So, well, what kind of games did they play when you were in grade school?
I remember they played shinny, and you take 2 sticks in a tin can, and you would hit that, and you try to get it over your goal. And
Sort of a homegrown variety of hockey that we.
it was kind of rough. I remember getting hit in the eye one time, and
Yeah.
it really hurt.
And you get hit around the ankles,
Yeah.
and boy, that hurt a lot of times. Hit
it
that
did.
shin bone and so forth. Maybe that's the reason they called it shinny.
Yeah. then we'd play come through. You'd line up, and the stronger guys would run through, and you'd try to stop them in the middle, and you'd hold them, and catch the other guys. So you got everybody caught in the middle. And there was a lot of games we'd like that. We'd have a lot of fun. Look forward to recess.
That's right. All right. And then after you were out of grade school at Church Grove, what happened to you next?
We moved to Benton. Times was really hard, and my dad died when I was 11, and I just quit school after the 8th grade, and just started working for $1 a day and board, and just any way to make a living.
Any way to get a little money, and as you say, money was real scarce, and jobs
really
were
scarce. Yeah.
jobs were scarce, and
I worked for Mr. Beulah Roberts for a nickel an hour for a good while. 10 hours a day, you'd make 50 cents. And
that's a long day.
it
too.
really was. And he was a fine person, though. That's Van's father.
But you got a half a dollar, and
Yeah.
and of course 50 cents would buy obviously a whole lot more than it does now.
It really would.
But still, it was difficult to get.
They call that the good old days, but they're better now than they were then.
Than they were at that time.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of amusements were there as a young man? Play parties, or?
Oh, we would mostly look forward to coming to Shelby's show, but you'd have time getting the 12 cents to get in the show sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. 12 cents was not easy to come by.
No, it really wasn't. The kids, they can't understand that now. That difference in time.
No. Now, if they want a little spending money to go to a basketball game, I mean, if you gave them a $1 bill, they'd get mad as fire. Of course, they wouldn't buy much, would it?
No.
You'd have to give 5, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. And
What do they sell? Drinks at a lot of places are 75 cents, aren't they?
Yeah. They were a nickel back then. I think the bottle was 3 cents.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I well remember when I was managing a radio station at WPAD in Paducah years ago. I started work there in 45, and so we didn't have a drink machine, and I thought I'd, get a few brownie points with my employees by installing a drink machine. Well, I bought that machine from one of the drink companies, and the drinks were 80 cents a case, but I paid $1 each time, and then that paid every time I bought a case of drinks. It paid 20 cents on the box.
I think I bought one machine that way when I first went in business.
And then we made 20 cents profit. You'd buy those 24 bottles for 80 cents, and you'd sell them out at a nickel a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
The employees were glad to get them, of course, just glad to have them handy and available, and that brought in $1.20.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we thought we'd made money, and at the end of the year, I had the drink box paid for, and we had about $100 that we'd saved up, and I took that, and we threw a big Christmas party for everybody. Got a turkey and a ham, and had a big get together, and just had a barrel of fun. All that off of 5-cent drinks.
Yeah.
Now I guess the poor grocer pays 30 cents a bottle for them, don't they, or thereabouts?
I don't know exactly, but I remember when I went in business, I drove a school bus for a year or two to help make the payments on the building. And that back then, I think they, Mr. Rose was superintendent, they paid $100 a month out of the bus.
Mm-hmm. $100 a month.
Uh-huh.
And I guess you were glad to get the job.
Oh, yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, it was a good job then.
All right. What did you get married?
Yes, in 45, I married Lorraine, which is Lorraine York, daughter of Amos and Lena York at Olive.
Mm-hmm.
And they were 15 children, and she was seventh, I think. And they
Amos York. Did Irvin Jackson marry one of those girls?
Irvin married one.
Lola May.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
So that
Yeah.
puts us almost in the same family then.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you married a York.
Yeah, they were. They're still living. They're in their 80s, and they take time about staying with them so they
Mhm.
won't have to go to a rest home.
Mm-hmm. But they've been very, very fine to their parents, and I admire that, of course,
Yeah, they really have.
in anybody. All right, were you old enough that you were hit by military service anywhere?
Yes, I had in World War II. I went in I was in the infantry. Went to Camp Atterbury, Indiana for a while, and then took training, and I went to Camp Maxey, Texas, and then from there through training, they started us overseas, and we was on a troop train, and the news came over the train that President Truman had dropped a atomic bomb, or had it dropped on Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and they surrendered. And I remember the boys just tearing up the train, and everybody's really celebrating. But then they shipped me on to Hawaii, and that was as far as I went. I stayed there for a year, and
Mm-hmm.
of course I got homesick there, but it was really a nice place.
Nice. It's certainly
Yeah.
a lot different to
Yeah.
the battle zone.
Yeah, I didn't have to, of course the training was rough, but I didn't have to go in any fighting or anything.
Well, that's good. And then you came back, and you married the York girl. Do you have any children?
We have 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
We have Gary Ed Barnes, 34, and Jane, LaVisha Jane Barnes, 27, and Glenda, she's married Benny Adair, and I have a little granddaughter. Glenda is 24, and we have a son at home, Dennis Lynn Barnes, that's 22, and he helps us in our store.
So he's working there at home with you.
Yes.
You weren't too terribly far from Elmo Reed out there, were you?
Oh, Elmo's my neighbor.
I interviewed him once on one of the tapes, and I recall that he said he lived out in that particular part of the county.
A mile or so from here.
Yeah. All right. Did you start the store after you got out of the service, or have you always worked there, or what did you do in that interim period?
I worked, I farmed a while, and I really liked it, but I wasn't doing any
You
good,
didn't
so
make a millionaire out of it.
wasn't making any money, so I worked at Murray at a service station for a while for Johnny Parker, and then I got a job for H.T. Waldrop driving a Standard Oil truck. And Joe Darnell had an opening, and he found out I was driving a truck at Murray, so he sent word for me to come talk to him. So he hired me for several years. And
He was a standard distributor here in Marshall County.
yes,
Yeah.
and I then decided that I was going to try to get in something to make a little more money. So I went to the plants, and I had gotten a job down there at one of them, and our reduction at that time, well, it was blowing up a lot of times, and people was coming out with just really dirty, and I decided, well, I knew the store was for sale. Howard Lee Rose had it at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went out and I went and seen about borrowing the money, and Joe Darnell signed a note for me, and so I thought I'd saved up $2,000, I think, and I'd sold my home, so I went out there and I bought it, and with the option to buy the building after a year. So I bought the stock for $4,000, and then after a year, I seen we were going to make it, so I thought building for another $4,000, and that was a little over 27 years ago. We're still there.
So you decided to stay, obviously, if you've been there 27 years altogether. It's a good neighborhood, I
Oh, it really
presume,
is.
and
You couldn't beat it. It's just really a good neighborhood.
And you know, I guess 99% of your customers,
Most of them.
biggest part of them, except for just the highway traffic that stops in and so forth. Well, it should be a pleasure then serving people that you know.
It really is. That just really is. I like to meet people.
All right. What kind of lines do you have? Is it more or less just a general store? Is it largely groceries or?
Mostly groceries. We sell Chevron gas and have all the time we've been there, because that was the oil truck I was driving while Joe Darnell sold it. So then we service cars, grease, change oil, and reline brakes, and just light mechanic work. Sell batteries. And
now, are there people that say that have carpools and leave their car there, and then you could service it during the day while they're gone?
Yes, we have.
That works out real well,
that
doesn't
works out well that way.
Okay. When you first started there, were the roads as good as they are now, or?
No, they were, a lot of them gravel. The one by Elmo Reed's and the old Wadesboro Road was gravel, so we decided to play a little politics, and of course, working with Joe Darnell, then I knew Judge Rayburn and Billy Watkins and some of them, and Shelby McCallum was a good friend of mine, so we got a petition up and got some names signed, and I got the guys together, and we took Joel Sullivan and Field McGregor and several people. I can't recall all of them now. Some of them passed on, and we went to Frankfurt, and we met with the highway commissioner, and so we got this road, got a commitment. At the time, I think I was on the Marshall County School Board, and Mr. Rose knew Harley Waterfield real well, and he was going to be in Benton, and he told me, he said, talk to him. So I pulled him out of the crowd and got him at the arm and asked him about it, and so he gave me a date that the contract would be let. So he lived up to his promise. And
he kept his word.
He is a fine person, Harley Waterfield is. And he blacktopped it. And then we had another road up there that we was trying to get blacktopped, Jackson School Road. And so we got Shelby to go with us on this trip, and we went up to see Henry Ward. But in the meantime, Ned Breathitt was running for governor, and we got an appointment with him, and he committed himself.
Yeah.
And we got it blacktopped.
Well, good.
So it worked out good.
By working together, and
That's right,
as you say,
Judge Rayburn went with us too.
Politics is the science of government.
Right.
Politics not a bad word.
No.
And
I like our free enterprise system.
Yes, sir.
100%.
That's good. That's wonderful. And you neighbors all worked together and got an improvement that everybody in that area and the entire county, as a matter of fact,
Still enjoying it.
are still enjoying the benefits of what you did at
Started
that point.
at Seaford, and went well down through there.
Yes. Well, if you follow the road from Seaford's on around and come back out by the Wadesboro Cemetery and so on through there, you pass my farm. If you.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So.
When we got that blacktop, of course, I didn't know the Wadesboro Road stopped at the Lex Lentz place, and the Wadesboro went through by the Woodall place. Well, at the Lex Lentz place to the county line down that way was the Tom Lane Road.
Yeah.
So we had to get two different numbers there to get them to turn right there.
Yeah. Well, That road that I lived on was always called the Wadesboro Road. Of course, it ran from Hardin to Wadesboro. But when they decided they would pave it, and the state took it over for state maintenance, Corbett Tucker was road supervisor in the county, I suppose. And they said, well, every road in the county can't be the Wadesboro Road. So they changed the name of our road to the Tucker Road.
Yep.
And it's a rather short little road, actually just runs from Hardin out. But of course, it was the Wadesboro Road.
Wadesboro was the seat of the Marshall County, wasn't it?
That's right, and Callaway both. At the time it was county seat from 1822 until 1842. The county was just Callaway County, of course. And then when they cut it apart and changed it and made it a separate county, and they built a new county seat, two of them, as a matter of fact, one at Murray and one at Benton. Well, time is rapidly rolling along. What do you think has changed most in Marshall County since you were growing up?
Our school system, I guess, has changed more than anything else. We've got a lot to be thankful for. Mr. Rose and Reed Condon, they have really done a good job. And I know Mr. Condon got a lot of criticism for a lot of these school things he's done, but you look at Graves County and other counties around, and we have the best school system any of them around.
Right, and Graves is just now trying to do what, well, of course, Mr. Rose started it, as you said, and got the trend going, and some way or other, without making everybody in the county mad. I'm sure there were many people who didn't like it. In some ways, I didn't exactly relish the idea of giving up the neighborhood school. There were good things about it, but there were a lot of bad things about it too. And I think when you, as you say, when you look at our system today and think of all the opportunity that our children have in not only just college prep, but there's vocational education. We got a wonderful vocational school out there.
That's right.
And not everybody can go to college or even wants to.
We've got good principals and good teachers, and just a lot to be thankful for.
I believe Mr. Condor told me they taught automobile mechanics. They had vocational business. They even set up a class one time, I think he said, where they taught people to become checkers in grocery stores.
That's right. That's right, I remember. Some of them that took that course.
And they have electricity that they offer. You can learn, electrical construction work, house wiring, and what have you, and on and on and on. So it's wonderful, and I don't know of anybody that has a better central high school plant
Not only
than Marshall County has at the present time. Well, very fine. Let's quickly, do you remember your first radio?
Oh, yes. Mr. York, after my father died, and I went to their place and stayed with them for $1 a day and board. People would come and listen to their radio because they had a battery in it, and we didn't have electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And this Edward R. Morrill, was that what that's
Yes,
name?
that's right.
Yeah.
And, great CBS newscaster.
His news, he really was a good announcer.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's uncle that we were living with, he didn't miss that. I mean, he always listened to Edward R. Morrill.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, do you have any particular thing, one thing you'd like to say before we sign off?
I can't think of anything.
Seems like a half hour goes in a hurry. Then when you get off, you'll probably think of 2 or 3 things you wish you'd have said.
Marshall County is just a good place to live in.
And you're glad you're here?
That's right.
You wouldn't change?
No, I wouldn't change.
Good. Shelby has often asked many of our guests if they had it to do over, would they stay in Marshall? And I think every one of them so far has said so, that they would.
It's a friendly place to live.
Our guest has been John Ed Barnes, a merchant at Harvey, and we've enjoyed having him on the state series of tapes being produced for the library in Frankfort, for the Pogue Library in Murray State University, and for the Marshall County Library. I'm Ray Mofield, and that concludes our broadcast for today.